Hello and namaskaram to all our esteemed viewers. I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your support and for taking the time to engage with our content. For our new viewers and subscribers, a very warm welcome to our community. I am thrilled that you have joined us, and it is our honor and privilege to spend this time with you. We deeply appreciate you dedicating your valuable time to listen to insights that will truly enhance the quality of your life. Today, I wish to delve into a topic that greatly intrigues me: the term psycho. I've seen it be used very nonchalantly and irresponsibly in many everyday conversations. In moments of anger, people hastily label each other as psycho, engaging in a back and forth of accusations that lack understanding. Additionally, this term is frequently associated with those cold hearted criminals and serial killers, which fosters a very narrow and negative perception. However, the field of psychopathy, it encompasses far more than just these stereotypes. There is a breadth of complexity and nuances in the psychopathic psychology and traits that merit a more informed and balanced exploration. Have you ever pondered why certain individuals they seem to be able to navigate through life with an extraordinary level of charm, fearlessness, and a touch of ruthlessness? It appears as though they possess an inherent ability to excel in various domains, including businesses, courtrooms, battlefields, stock markets, and in the operation theaters. Welcome to the intriguing world of psychopaths. I am not talking about the stereotypical, axe wielding, dangerous characters from horror films, but real life individuals whose distinct traits can lead to remarkable successes in diverse professions. Join us as we explore the captivating intersection of psychopathy and professional excellence, where ethics and empathy engage in a delicate balance with charisma and strategic acumen. You perhaps have encountered someone who effortlessly charms everyone in their presence. Yet there is an indescribable feeling that something is amiss. These individuals, they might possess the capability to sell sand in the desert or skillfully evade a speeding ticket with a mere wink and a smile. You may have encountered a real life psychopath, not the typical ones that are depicted in horror movies, but those who seamlessly integrate into society, often in high stake professions. Let me tell you the story of a frog and a scorpion. Once upon a time, a scorpion found itself on a bank of a river. It was trying to find a way to cross across to the other side. And as it was pondering its dilemma, it noticed a frog basking in the sun nearby. Approaching the frog, the scorpion said, "Dear frog, could you please assist me in crossing this river? I cannot swim, and you seem to have that skill at navigating through water." The frog looked at the scorpion with a perplexed look. It hesitated for a moment and then said, "But you're a scorpion. How can I be sure that you won't sting me and cause my death?" The scorpion, with a tone of sincerity and with calmness, responded, "Why would I ever do that, frog? If I were to sting you, we would both die, won't we? I promise I have no intention of harming you. I just want to get to the other side of the river." Convinced by the scorpion's reasoning, the frog agreed to carry the scorpion on its back and set across the river. Halfway through the journey, the scorpion suddenly felt a sharp urge, and with a swift motion, it stung the frog. And as they began to sink together, The frog asked in its final moments, "Why? Why did you sting me? Now we will both die." And the scorpion replied, "I just could not help myself. It is just in my nature to sting." You see, the story of the scorpion and the frog, it serves as a poignant example for understanding the inherent tendencies of those with psychopathic traits, demonstrating how their unique nature can both contribute to their success as well as to their downfall. Prepare yourselves as we delve into this fascinating realm of psychopathy, examining how these individuals they're able to excel in various fields like becoming business tycoons or sports legends or become multifaceted leaders in politics and military. We will explore how they have these unique blends of qualities that can facilitate and hinder their ascent to success. Ethics and moral compass engage in a delicate balance with charisma and strategic acumen in these professional lives. It is often said that fear developed in humans as a survival mechanism to protect ourselves against predators such as hunting animals, tigers, and large animals like elephants and rhinos. Nevertheless, we no longer live in the jungles where there is a constant fear of animal predators, which is necessary. Despite this, we have a fear system that has evolved into becoming a larger monster. We humans, we find ourselves to be pathologically in a state of fear, becoming increasingly risk aversive. Many mechanisms driving our emotions are not well adapted to modern times. Is this poorly adapted fear system partly responsible for the higher cases of anxiety that we have surged over in the past couple of decades? Anxiety related to job security, to relationships, about other people's opinions, the fear concerning the death of our loved ones, these have become predominant issues. The higher the anxiety in life, the greater the correlation to risk aversiveness. The more we try to look for stability, the more we are looking for those comfort zones. Switching to another topic, relationship between creativity and a little bit of madness. Aristotle famously quoted 2400 years ago, "There is never a genius without a tincture of madness." This observation was proven accurate in many cases. Most brilliant individuals, artists, inventors, they possess a touch of craziness, of madness. It has been noted by scientists that people experiencing depression may have certain advantages, such as they might have increased attentiveness and enhanced problem solving skills. Research indicates that individuals with some low mood, low spectrum of depression can at times have 4 times more memory retention than most of us. Fear or sadness, anxiety or depression, these constitute 2 out of the 5 basic human emotions. However, there exists one category of people who do not experience these emotions: the psychopaths. The psychopathy, it encompasses a wide spectrum, and the spectrum ranges from notorious killers like Ted Bundy, the Hannibal Lecters, who operate without a remorse or consciousness. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are psychopaths who serve society with remarkable poise and precision. These groups can include neurosurgeons, cardiothoracic surgeons, members of elite SWAT teams. In some countries, they are referred to as Black Cat Commandos, military operative leaders, business tycoons and magnates, innovators, top tier lawyers, especially in the areas of criminal and corporate law, supremely successful athletes, stock market bulls, and the high end sales managers. These individuals who make millions and millions of dollars in revenue. These individuals, they thrive in environments that are highly competitive. It demands strategic thinking and fearlessness, and it's adrenaline driven and need razor sharp focus and execution, and sometimes ruthlessness. What distinguishes these high functioning psychopaths is their extraordinary charm. Each moment spent with them, it reveals their ability to size you up. They determine how you can be of value to their goals and priorities. They are chameleons. They are adept in blending into any situation with ease. Many of them, they are flamboyant. They possess a magnetic personality that captivates those around them. Whether in their appearance, speech, mannerisms, they exude charm and attractiveness. They are formidable personalities, making their presence undeniably noticeable and evident in their respective fields. What is unique about their brains? After the deaths of many serial killers and psychopathic criminals, their brains were carefully studied to uncover if there were any physical differences compared to non psychopathic brains. Surprisingly, no physical differences were found to prove that the brains of psychopaths are any different from those that are non psychopaths. They had no inner growths, or neither were there larger brains, smaller distortions, or any injuries or damage that could tell us that there was any physical indication of a psychopathic brain. Dr. Morrison, who had studied the dead brain of this very well known serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, stated that although there were no notable physical differences, the wiring of a psychopath's brain when they're alive is very different. It is akin to a switch being on or off. The way they process and regulate their emotions, it's vastly different from non psychopaths. Many criminally disposed psychopaths, they carry a fake persona in society. They represent themselves as outstanding citizens or appearing normal on the outside. They control their inner beast, their inner scorpion within them, ensuring no one sees it except for their victims. Many years ago, I was having a beautiful conversation with a very renowned neurosurgeon in New York. I will call him Dr. D. While I was talking to him, I inquired how he maintains his calm, focus, and composure under the pressure while performing intricate surgeries on his patient's brain. How does it feel when he is looking at a brain with the skull open? And his response revealed a profound insight into his mindset. He calmly looked at me and he stated, when I look at my patient on the operating table, I don't see them as individuals. I don't look at them as an XYZ, or their identity is inconsequential to me. In my role as a surgeon in the operating room, I am confronting the god of death. I am looking straight into his eyes and I am trying to rescue this patient from the claws of death's grasp. He continued to say, I am cold and ruthless, I am razor focused, and I know that my calm demeanor, these are my weapons in the battle against the god of death. He said, I deceive, I outmaneuver him. Ultimately, I am playing the game of chess with the god of death. And it is checkmate, god of death. It is a game where I emerge victorious against him, saving a life from the clutches of the god of death. In that moment, I saw a twinkle, a sparkle in his eyes, and it was pure ruthlessness and strategic thinking, bearing similarities to those of a serial killer. While a serial killer might engage in a sinister game, taking lives at their whim, Dr. D is engaged in a similar fight, but it is a noble fight. He is trying to do exactly the same, but he is trying to save lives from death's grip. The similarities lie in the mindset and the approach, but the distinction is in their moral compass and their objectives and goals. While one battles to save life from the god of death, the other one is playing the role of the god of death. It is a matter of choice. Two different paths, two parallel universes. One yields a scalpel to preserve and save life, while the other uses a knife to end it. Both experiencing a similar adrenaline rush, a sense of playing God, a feeling of power and grandiosity. The common traits that both share include calm under pressure, fearlessness, confidence, ruthlessness, focus, and sometimes lack of empathy. There is a spectrum of psychopathy, and we will explore this further in future discussions. In the field of surgery, certain psychopathic traits can indeed be beneficial. The psychology of surgeons is a very complex and multifaceted subject. It encompasses traits that enable them to perform life saving procedures with remarkable precision and ability to take decisions on the spot that could be life or death situations. While certain psychopathic traits, it plays a role in their success, it is a balance of these traits with a little bit mix of ethical standards, empathy that define the true excellence of surgical practices. Continued research and discussions are happening as we talk, which will pave the way for enhancing and training and supporting these extraordinary professionals. Surgeons, they exhibit a similar number of traits that align closely with what is often termed adaptive psychopathy. While this term may sometimes sound a little bit negative, it is essential to understand that certain psychopathic traits are beneficial in the field of surgery. A study published in the Journal of Surgical Research examined the personality traits of surgeons, and the researchers found that surgeons scored high on the measures of psychological resilience, emotional stability, task oriented coping strategies compared to a general population. These traits are critical for managing the immense stress and responsibility that comes with these surgical practices. Research conducted by the British Journal of Psychiatry explored the presence of psychopathic traits in surgeons. The study revealed that while surgeons they exhibited higher levels of certain psychopathic traits such as fearlessness, ruthlessness, calm, controlled, these were balanced by their strong ethical standards and they had empathy that lacks in the criminal psychopathy. The study concluded that adaptive psychopathy it enables the surgeons to perform effectively in high stake environments. Another study published in the Annals of Surgery, they investigated the cognitive and the emotional resilience of surgeons. It highlighted that surgeons they possess exceptional problem solving abilities and they had extensive control on their emotions, which allows them to be razor focused, calm, and navigate the complexities of the delicate work that they do during surgery. And they do it with precision. These findings they underscore the importance of psychological training and support for enhancing surgeons' performance and well-beings. I've had some conversations with the wife or the better half of such expert surgeons, well-known surgeons, and they have given me very good, interesting insights into the personalities of such surgeons. They provided me some insights which still I am mulling over and trying to understand how I'm going to decipher that and share with you. While on the other hand, let's talk about the criminal psychopaths. They are akin to predators, constantly sizing up their victims in a manner reminiscent of how predators in the jungles like lions or tigers they stalk their prey in tall grasses. They wait for that perfect opportune moment to attack, trap, and then finally kill their target. Ted Bundy, one of the most well known serial killer criminal, he once mentioned in an interview that he used to observe his victims' walking patterns, and that was one of his cues to identify his potential victims. Psychopaths, they handle moral dilemmas differently from more typical individuals. They experience little to no empathy, and the way their brain processes emotions, information is very distinct from that of a non psychopathic person. In 2005, the University of Surrey conducted a survey comparing business leaders, psychiatric patients, and psychiatric criminal patients. The study revealed that business leaders they exhibited more psychopathic attributes such as superficial charm, egocentricity, persuasiveness, lack of empathy, extreme independence, razor sharp focus, and ruthlessness. The main difference between business leaders and the psychiatric patients was that the latter they displayed antisocial tendencies, law-breaking tendencies, excessive aggression and high levels of impulsiveness. Criminal psychopaths they size up their victims, they mark them and then they wait for the proper opportunity to move, attack and snarl and kill just like the lion kills a gazelle. Criminal psychopathy is a multifaceted phenomenon. It involves various interrelated components that span a wide spectrum. Some of these components include interpersonal skills, emotional regulation, their childhood experiences, their environment, lifestyle choices, antisocial behaviors, anger issues, excessive aggression, which creates a mix of personality disorders, sometimes referred to as the witch's brew. Psychopathy can be understood as a spectrum disorder where individuals can exhibit varying degrees of antisocial behaviors and interpersonal deficits. Those higher on the spectrum of antisocial personality disorder, more commonly known as ASPD, often display they have more severe psychopathic traits. Conversely, individuals lower on the interpersonal development may exhibit fewer psychopathic traits. The higher the levels of ASPD, it is synonymous with higher levels of psychopathy. ASPD is defined as patterns of disregard for the violation of the rights of others, signs of which are typically observed from around the ages of 8 or 9, 10 and early teenage years, and they persist into early adulthood. ASPD is characterized by several key features, including deceitfulness, aggressiveness, irritability, anger issues, physical assaults, reckless behavior, disregard for the safety of others, impulsive actions, irresponsibility, lack of remorse, and lack of empathy. A study conducted by Professor Hancock from Cornell University and his colleagues at the University of British Columbia compared a certain number of psychopathic murderers, criminals, with a similar number of non-psychopathic murderers and criminals. One notable difference was that the psychopaths they used twice as many topics related to their own personal needs, physical needs such as food, sex, money or personal possessions, while the non-psychopaths they placed more emphasis on social needs, family, religion and spirituality. Psychopathic murderers, they tend to justify their crimes using more conjunctions like because, since, and so that, implying that their crimes somehow had to be committed. They were just in that situation. In contrast, the non psychopathic murderers, their statements do not follow this pattern. They don't feel the need to rationalize their acts, they accept their guilt. Psychopaths, they don't feel empathy. They are very rational in their understanding of why they do what they do to meet their rewards or to win their trophies with the death of their victim, with the torture of their victim, and while watching and enjoying that process. It's a predatory hunt game where the victim is their trophy. Recent studies involving about 14,000 college students have shown that the younger generations of our era have 40% less empathy than our grandparents or great grandparents' generations had. This trend is indeed concerning. It raises questions about the direction in which our society is heading. Does it concern you? I want to talk about one of the most magnetic innovators of our times, Mr. Steve Jobs. He can be regarded as an epitome of an innovation. He was a cult leader characterized by his single mindedness, his drive, focus, perfectionism, and an uncompromising nature. He knew what he wanted, he was ruthless. He was a visionary madman whose contributions significantly advanced innovation and technology. Jobs brought to the table a sophistication, timelessness, technological charm. He was known to be a very challenging boss to work for, yet he possessed a very clear vision with his objectives and he remained steadfast in his pursuit. One might even argue that he exhibited a few traits akin to those of a psychopath. Now let's get to the most interesting part of this video, the story about my brother's psychopath best friend. Jay and I are first cousins. Our fathers are brothers. Our parents, they had grown up in India. They came to the US as part of their post-graduation studies and settled down here in the US. So Jay and I are both first generation American children. Katie and James, the siblings, they are Americans. James and Jay, they are the same age, about a year older than me and Katie. And Katie and I, we belong to a group of best friends. We all grew up together. We've known each other since our first or second grade. We lived in the same neighborhood. We had similar kind of extracurricular activities. And our parents knew each other very well. So it was almost like we were like family. James is an enigmatic personality. You know, he was extremely good looking, athletic body. He was extremely intelligent. He was a very good, he had great communication skills and he had great convincing skills. He inhibited many of the qualities of a psychopath. He lacked empathy, he was ruthless at times, and he would take risks sometimes that were ridiculous. I'm not going to get into the details of some of the events that were literally, my eyes popped out of my eye sockets when I heard some of those things. But he was Jay's best friend, and sometimes I used to ask Jay, how do you even tolerate this dude? You know, he's so different from you. And Jay would always look at me and say, why is he this guy is he's very amazing, he's different, he's unique, and I get along well with him, and he really is a great friend. Katie and I sometimes, we used to have fights with these boys, and when there is a brother and sister sibling fight, Katie and James would go at it, while Jay and I would sometimes, we would quieten up and we would just get into the background and watch Katie and James go at each other verbally. They are saying mean things to each other. And in those fights, Katie used to always say, "You are a psycho. James, you are a bloody psycho. And you will end up becoming a serial killer." And whenever Katie said some of these mean things, James would be very calm, collected, and he would not react to it. And then the saga would go on. Sometimes Jay and I would make a bet to see who is going to give up on that fight first. And typically it would always be Katie who would end up crying, stomping her feet, and walking out of the room. And And James, sometimes he did things that were beyond ridiculous, and now when I think back at it, I'm like, oh my God, how did he even get away with some of the things he did? James and Jay, they treated Katie and me like little sisters. James referred to me as kiddo. And they were like protective older brothers to us. Sometimes it was very embarrassing, especially when we were in high school. And, if any boys came to talk to us, James, with his personality, he would do his fist signs and, he would scare the boys away. Anyways, James was also very funny and charming, and he always had a way to get what we needed from my parents. Sometimes if we had to go somewhere which my parents would object to, he had this way of convincing my parents where we were allowed to do it, and my parents would always find him to be a very, they believed him, they trusted him, and they thought of him highly. And it was only the four of us who knew what a real psycho this James was. He was fearless. He would be calm like a cucumber in some of the most terrible situations. And he was the one who would always get us out of trouble in certain situations. And if we were in trouble, we knew of the first person we are going to call is James. And sometimes James, when we would kid with him and we would say, "You are weird, dude," he would say, yeah, I know I'm different, but I also know my boundaries. He was exceptionally smart, and he would be, like one of those guys in the school who nobody wanted to mess with. Even though sometimes I was really irritated by his psycho ways, but because of my brother Jay, I somehow managed to tolerate him at times. Now, this was around the time when I was about 16. In my family, we were all encouraged to come up with innovative ideas, come up with things where we can start our own entrepreneurship ventures. We had a room in my home, which my parents used to call it the power room. It was basically an office room that my parents had created for us siblings, where we could ideate, where we had one full wall which was a digital whiteboard. And remember, in the 2010, around that early 2010-12, digital whiteboards were like a very unique thing to have. So that's where I used to create all my detailed planning about, and I was really interested in starting my first venture around the age of 16, 17. And, I was doing a lot of ideations, coming up with plans. I had a certain budget I wanted to work with, and I had this whole business plan that I'd put together. And there was this one area in my first venture where I was really struggling with, especially this was about something that would really, it really threw all my numbers away, and it really threw my numbers around. And, it was really impacting in my budget if I did certain ways, certain things. And if there were you always have these failover plans. What happens if this doesn't work out, or if that doesn't work out? So you always have that whole thing as part of your business plan and ideation. And if certain things were done, then my budget would go up by 300% or 400%. And it was a lot. And I wanted to make very sure that I am going to be successful in my first venture. So one evening, while I was sitting in my office room, looking at my digital whiteboard and thinking about some of the things that I had to deal with before I could finalize and formalize my business plan and take it out to get some funding for my venture, James casually walked in, and in his casual style, he pops up in a chair opposite me and he asks me, "What's up, kiddo?" And I was like, he saw my face and he knew I was in a stressful situation. I was either looking disappointed, upset, angry. And he says, "So, how is this plan about your first venture coming along? And how many millions do you think you will make in the first 2 years?" I was already in a bad mood. I was pissed off by this statement. I said, "You know what, James, I'm in no mood to talk to you right now. I'm in no mood for banter or your stupid comic sense." He then seriously looked at me with a quirky look, and he said, "Oh, can I help you in any way?" I rolled my eyes and I said, "I don't think even God can help me in this situation." So he said, "Okay, tell me what is going on. I want to hear you." And then, as he was taking large bites of his green apple that he always is chomping on, I gave him my rant about my high level business plan and all the things that I was looking at, and then this one silly, stupid roadblock that I had, and I was really, really mad at it, and I had chalked out of different, options and approaches for the solutioning, but things were not working out right with the kind of budgeting that I wanted. He listened to me patiently without interrupting. He heard everything I had to say. And then he nonchalantly got up and he said, "Can you just send me that file that you were talking about, explaining all those things? And tomorrow, can we meet at the same time in your office? I might have something for you." I thought he was just kidding and he was just being James. Sometimes he's like, he says things and he's like, he doesn't follow through. Next day, around the same time, while I was still in my power room, my office room, that's what I used to call it, and I'm still working on my plan for my first business venture, Mr. James, he walks in casually again, chomping on a green apple and with a couple of files in his hand. He sits across me and then rattles of how he thinks that the one problem I have in my business plan could be solved. He tells me a few things, I listen to him intently, and then once he's done, I look at him with a surprised look on my face. A ridiculous idea. I look at him and I say, "James, do you know what you just said is an impossible risk that I could take?" If I did what he was suggesting, I had no wriggle room for failure. Failure was not an option if I did what he was suggesting. I look at him and I tell him, "Hey, James, I cannot take such a big risk, and this is my first venture. Everything is at stake here. I have to be successful. I have to prove it to myself." Before I could complete that sentence, he picks up a stress ball that was laying on the table and he throws it at me and he gets up to walk out. He turns around and he says, "Kiddo, you can do it. I believe in you. And from those profits you make in the first 3 years, you owe me X percentage of the profits." He says a number and he shows me a peace sign and he walks out of my power room. As he walks out, I mutter under my breath, "He is a psycho." I spoke about what James had recommended with my parents and I asked them their opinion. It was a risk that I don't know, I wasn't sure if I can take. And my parents, as always, they said, "Wise, the decision is yours. You have to make the decision. No matter what, whether you're successful or whether you fall flat on your face, we will always be there for you. But you have to make the decision." Well, I made the decision, took the risk, and rest is history. I hit the jackpot, and then from one company to another to the next one, my journey of entrepreneurship still continues. James and Katie are still very much part of our lives. We all meet up at least once or twice a year. And James, he loves to spend time with us during the celebrations of Diwali, more so because of all the food, savories, and sweets that are made around that time. Can you guess where James would have landed up in his professional life? Guess, guess, guess. I'll give you 5 seconds. And please tell me in the comment section what you had guessed. If you were right, you tell me. If you were wrong, you still tell me what you had thought he would have turned up in his professional life. Well, let me tell you, James was handpicked by the government to become one of the most successful top secret agents. It is similar to James Bond in MI5 in UK. Without giving up too much information, what I can tell you is he was handpicked by the powers to be because of his unique skills and traits. Don't get me wrong, he's still a psycho. It was his psychopathic traits that are now being used for the larger good of humanity. He's a genius psychopath, and I'm so proud of you, James. A few years ago, at one of our Diwali celebrations, I handed a fancy envelope to James, which he looked at and, he said, "What is this?" I told him it was a Diwali gift. He was surprised. He said he already received all his Diwali gifts. And he said, "Is this an extra one for me, kiddo?" I said, "Open it, take a look at it." He, in his blondish style, opens the envelope and looks at the check, and his eyes pop out. He gives me this quizzical look and says, "Whoa, what is this?" I say, "That is your portion of the profits that I made from my first venture, that you said I should give you if I succeeded, remember?" He started laughing. I saw the gleam and I saw pride in his eyes. And he said, "Oh, I just said that for fun, kiddo." I looked at him and I said, "It was not fun for me. You are the reason why I took that risk. And it is because of that one statement you made that, kiddo, I believe in you. It gave me the strength to jump into the deepest end of the lake and find my way to swim across to the shores." James looked at me surprised, not knowing how he had impacted me that evening. He takes my hand, he places that check on my palm, and he says, "Add this to your philanthropic trust work and continue utilizing it for the good work you're doing and just be as amazing as you are. I am extremely proud of you, kiddo." He then gets up, takes two more pieces of the Diwali sweets from the tray. He walks away in the same way he did when he walked out of my power room that evening. And I mutter under my breath, "Psycho, a good psycho." He's everything I would ask a woman to avoid in the dating space. He's charming, good looking, fit, smart, intelligent. He's everything a woman wants to have in a man. But he's not a good husband material. He's a player and he's too much of a risk taker. Well, being James Bond in real life is not that of an easy task, is it? I learned a lot of things from James: to take risks in life and to be ready to start over if need be, to be calm and collected in high pressure situations, to be focused, to be ruthless at times, and to take actions. Procrastination has no place in his life. I also learned from him that living in the moment is a practice that I need to do more often. I have learned that being a little mad, being a little crazy, it's a critical quality that you need to be a genius. And having a moral compass in the right place and pointing in the right direction is what makes him a James Bond and not a Ted Bundy. It's a choice he made. He is a psycho and he's a good psycho. He is a brother from another mother. And with that beautiful thought, I would like to chant my favorite mantra, Lokaha Samasthaha Sukhino Bhavantu, the translation of which means, may all living beings on this planet be happy and free. And with that amazing thought, I bid you farewell. Namaskaram, goodbye, and thank you. Here is a link to one of our other videos that I believe you will enjoy to watch. Please continue to watch our videos and gain insights to better the quality of your life. Thank you.